Good morning and welcome to today's show. My name is Trony Ingati and we are here at the Ayola TV. Today, on this show, Law and Loyalties, we shall be talking about Africa, human rights in Africa. What is the state of the matter and how are we doing on a scale of 1 to 10? How can we rate ourselves? To help me elaborate this and explain and just churn out all the material that we need is lawyer and human rights activist Valentin Akayezu. Valentin, welcome to studio.
Thank you.
So to just set the pace, Valentin, who are you? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
As you say, I'm human rights professional and also legal practitioner, and I've started my career in Rwanda, where I have been in a court as magistrate and also trainer in law school. And later I joined a human rights organization. So being here in Netherlands, I'm doing my PhD studies, focusing on peace and human rights. And I'm also a member of some organization dealing with peace and human rights issues.
What is some of the organizations that you're a member of that deal with peace issues?
I work with the Hague Peace Project, which is an organization trying to bring together the diaspora members here in The Hague, just to see how we can contribute to the environment of human rights back home. I work sometimes with Initiative of Change, the Netherlands section. I also have some connection with Christian organization here, and among different activities we do also reflecting on human rights and peace, because that is also a Christian mission. So we have to promote peace, the understanding between people.
So Valentin, reflecting on human rights, that sounds like a perfect place to begin. What can we take on that? When we are talking about human rights, it's a right to having a meal on a table, a right to be heard. How else can we take it from there?
If we look at the context of human rights, we can first look at it from the global perspective, the global outlook, and also we can talk about it on the African outlook. So if we look at it, at the state of human rights globally, there are many people who are talking that human rights, democracy are now in crisis. Some may agree, others may not agree, but when we face the reality and how things are emerging globally, we can somehow agree with that. Who are now the most powerful players on international arena? There are some politicians and business people who have financial capacity to dictate what to happen globally. So that is a threat to human rights issues. That is the global outlook. So at the regional context, mostly in Africa, also there are problems. But first I want to highlight that if we talk about human rights in Africa, the presentation, the presentation many people make about this dynamic of human rights in Africa, many may believe that human rights do not exist in Africa, which is not true. They are important part of human rights that are being applied within Africa. When we talk about the collective right, when we say collective right, it means how government try to satisfy the most important basic needs of their peoples, like building schools, building health centers, infrastructures, and so that is also human right when you try to satisfy the basic needs. So that is collective right. But we can question that. The quantity is there, but the quality, that is the problem. So when it comes on individual right, how people, individual, can enjoy those basic right, that is where there is a big gap. Because, who is the center, in the center of deciding? Mostly, those are government. The government people are in the center of making decisions, and they do the way fitting their ways. So that is the problem. So the people are the absent. They are still absent in making decisions, in orienting or guiding how those decisions can really match their basic human rights needs. So that is how I can a little bit describe the context of human rights, globally and regionally.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Now, Valentin, when we look at Africa, we have it petitioned. We have the north, we have the south, we have the east, we have the west, and we have Central Africa. And all of them are integrally different. We can't quite say that, Africa is the same. All of them have got a different way of operating. Now, if we are to look at the north, the south, and all these other regions that I have mentioned, where would we say that, per se, the governments are taking care of the people, that they have collective rights and individual rights, part and parcel of the human rights?
Yeah.
This is your opinion.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be right or wrong.
Yeah, that is a very complicated assessment. But we can talk about some examples. They do exist. So when we start at the north of Africa, I may say it's very complicated, because the north is mostly those countries that base their political systems and the societal functioning on their religious beliefs, the Islam beliefs. So, and Islam has a way it defines how people should live. So in the north, we can say this kind of individual right is not usually promoted, but there are some promising case like Tunisia. Tunisia is believed to be somehow a free society comparing to other Arabic countries like Algeria, Morocco, Libya, and others. Tunisia is trying to be a free society, and they have inherited that from the President Bourguiba. If I mind,
Right.
I can remember Bourguiba maybe. I don't remember where. So Tunisia is the best, can be the best in the north. So in the West Africa is also another part of Africa trying to do well, because democratic principles in many countries from the western part of Africa are being applied. If you look at the countries like Senegal, countries like Ghana, countries like Benin, now Burkina Faso after Blaise Compaoré, countries like Nigeria. So we can say democratic principles are being applied in that region. And there are other countries which are still struggling to get there, Togo, Gambia. Yeah, so when we come at East African part of Africa, it's also complicated. Maybe Kenya can be best. Kenya has people which is really aware about the importance of democratic values, even if the use of those rights can be polarizing in some context. We know the context of elections. Every time in Kenya there are many kinds of violence, but at least they try. They have a strong opposition, and the government can be balanced in terms of democratic. If we put government and opposition on this balance of the democratic balance. So Kenya is trying, but countries like Tanzania is known to have the political, peaceful power succession inside the ruling party. They have the way they do their things, and this has stabilized Tanzania for so long time. So, but this ruling party in Tanzania is the only dominant, is dominating the political sphere, which is not good. They are trying to exclude other political players in Tanzania, and this is not good. That is the context. Other countries, Rwanda, Burundi, now we have the context. They are far behind. They are far behind in terms of promoting democracy, in terms of liberalizing their people. Uganda, somehow, but Museveni is known to be an authoritarian leader. So
Looking
South,
at
the South also is taking the good way, the South, the southern part of Africa. Because the most complicated countries were Zimbabwe and Angola. But after Mugabe, after Dos Santos, we are seeing a very new leadership in those countries, and we have to give them chance and to see where they will go. They will take their people. Beside them, there we have countries which I appreciate most, Botswana and Namibia. For me, those are the success story, according to me, in Africa, Botswana and Namibia.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We'll take a short break, and when we come back, I will be asking you why Namibia and Botswana are good examples via looking at the human rights issue and where we stand on a scale of 1 to 10. Don't go away. We'll be right back. and good morning, viewers, wherever you are watching us from. My name is Trony Ingati, and you are watching Law and Loyalties on Ayola TV. This is a show dedicated to exploring law and human rights issues, giving you and restoring the power back into your hands with knowledge and information to make more informed decisions as a citizen of this country, the Netherlands, and the global scene. With me in studio is lawyer and human rights activist Valentin Akayezu. I'm always taken to say Dr. Valentin Akayezu. You're on the path.
Yeah, not yet.
I am already qualifying you before your time.
He's a doctor to be.
Doctor to be. Valentine, before we left, we were looking at the global scene and setting of human rights. We've touched on the regions, the south of Africa, the east of Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, North Africa, and we've done, comparisons to see which region weighs a little bit better. And now we're looking at examples of countries that uphold human rights highly. And you have mentioned Namibia and Botswana. So I would like you to take us through those two countries. What stands out for you, Valentin?
Yeah, I said Namibia and Botswana are the two countries that inspire most in Africa. Why? I recently read a newspaper where the author was entertaining with the youth from Botswana. And those people, the young people, those from Botswana said, yeah, we love too much our countries. And when we go out to study, when we go out to look for opportunities, still our mind and heart are in Botswana. And they, after studies, they go back to Botswana to serve their countries. And I was very interested and surprised to hear that, because it's not the common in Africa. The problem we have in Africa, the most young people, the African young people, the majority of them are dreaming to leave the continent and to look life elsewhere, to leave this continent they consider as miserable. But the people in Botswana are dreaming always to stay in their countries. And yeah, from that I started to see what motivates these people to have this kind of spirit, the patriotic spirit, the strong attachment to their countries.
And it is unique, I must say.
Yeah, in Africa, it's very particular. Yeah, when you read different reports talking about development in Africa, you will see those countries, Botswana mostly, is qualifying well in terms of governance, in terms of economic development, in terms of transparency. So if you build that system, a system which is very transparent, a system which is very democratic, you are contributing to the future of your society. A leadership is contributing, is building a strong country, is laying the strong foundation where all people can feel safe, can feel better to stay, better to live. So that is what the government of Botswana, the government of Namibia is trying to do. People are more confident in their leadership and in their living conditions. They are very confident. And why? Because they have this leadership, which is very pro-people, a pro-people leadership. That is what lacks in many countries of Africa. The leadership which is very close to people, deciding for people.
And allow me to just, interject there. How do we foster this pro-people government? Does it start in school? Does it start in the houses? Where does it start? Does it start when you become Mr. Politician? How do we foster a pro-people government? Who should be asking for it? Is it civil society? The onus is on who?
Yeah, that is a good question. And to answer it, I can ask you to look at at 2 points.
Yeah.
When you want to build a country, the first thing to do is to consolidate a fair leadership. Fair leadership. That is the point number 1. The second point, this fair leadership will help to build a second class, the middle class. Because that is what we don't have in Africa, middle class. We have the upper class, which comes from the political arena and business arena, and they control everything, and their interests are the same. They protect themselves. And we have the very lower people, the people who have nothing.
Would we classify this as the have-nots? Would this be called the have-nots in political science? Or it's way below that?
I'm trying to show you how the fair leadership, the pro-people leadership can help to build a middle class. So
I get it.
It's to bridge the gap between the upper class and the lower class. So if you consolidate the middle class, a society can function. Europe, the West is functioning well because the people are very empowered. They are very empowered. They can check. They can put on check their government. They can ask them. They can ask why. Why are you doing this? Why are you not doing this? So when a people is empowered, government is afraid of the people. So it becomes the servant of the people instead of being the authorities. So a serving leadership and authoritative leadership, they are very different. So when you serve your people, you are serving a society. But when you impose your authority on your people, people are not living their way. They are living the way their leaders want. So a pro-people leadership is helping, is serving their population to move up, not to get down. So that is what these 2 countries are trying to do in Botswana and in Namibia.
Lovely. Now, I have a question, and this would probably touch on how do we ask that question, why? In the African setting, in a better way. How can our people, say in Uganda, in Kenya, in Nigeria, the ones who have not gotten either to the middle class bit, but not that they do not know what is going on. They do know their rights and issues, but perhaps they are not vocal enough. Not just them, but the systems do not allow their voice. So they want clean water, but it's still not getting up to the top. They want better hospitals, but it's still not getting up to the top. You could blame it on corruption, you could blame it on so many other roadblocks along the way, but how can we develop that bit where we ask why to our people and demand the very basic rights?
Yeah, it's through the civil society. If we can have a very strong and visionary civil society, we can get there. But when you look at the state of African civil society, there are a lot of questions. We were trying to list some countries in Africa that do well in terms of democracy. The West Africa region. In Ghana, you will find a lot of civil society organization. In Nigeria, you will find a lot of very vibrant civil society in Nigeria. But why corruption is growing in Nigeria while having this vibrant civil society? So that is the question we do have. The mandate of our civil society organization is very clear. But behind the scene, maybe there are other different agendas. When I try to check where the functioning of our African civil society, I may say it's a forum of the same elite, the elite people who are there and have their personal ambitions and agenda, which are competing with the power in place. I may give you an example. In Côte d'Ivoire, we have had the President Laurent Gbagbo. Laurent Gbagbo was known before he became the president as a social activist. He was very active in union, the activist in forming, advocating for the trade unions in Côte d'Ivoire. He was an activist. But when he came to power, things changed. The same Laurent Gbagbo who was activist disappeared. The same thing happened in Senegal when we had the President Abdoulaye Wade, who was to be a very great lawyer. He was a lawyer and very known lawyer in the opposition against the former president. I forget the name. But when he came to power, he changed his game. He became even the very bad authoritarian. He wanted even to stay on power and to change the constitution. So that is why I say the people who form our African civil society, they don't have the agenda to serve their people. They have their personal interest to compete with the people in power, just to succeed them. That's what happened in Rwanda, my country. Before genocide, we have many people who were known in civil society being human rights activists. They were very vocal voices before genocide. And after genocide, many people got surprised to see them being the same people who are putting barriers to the work of human rights in Rwanda because they are now in power. So they changed, interest changed. And this means that they are not serving the general interest of the people, they are serving their own interest. And that is the weakness of African civil society umbrella. So they have the hidden agenda. Yeah.
And how can we change this? Should we be more careful in who we vote in or give titles to? How do we correct this? Because we have identified the wound, but we have not addressed it.
I think African people want change.
How do we give it to them?
And youth
The youth.
want change. We have to invest in youth.
How do
And
I
they,
invest in the youth?
Yeah. It's the youth, the young people should be supported, and they can play a big role in political arena, because now Africa is talking about empowering the youth. But they are talking youth people from the economic side, how they are doing business, innovation, and everything. But you cannot succeed economically if the ground is not good. And how to clean this ground? We need to clean our politics, our political environment. So not only youth should be invested economically, we should invest youth economically, but also we should invest youth politically, to invest in youth politically. So they have to be there in the both sides, economic side and political side. So we are not seeing youth in politics. So they are the catalyzer of change. We need to get them in politics. So not only in economics, just giving them money, go and be entrepreneurs, be innovators, but the political context is not allowing them to work properly.
Yeah.
So I think the time we will see our youth engaged politically, things can change. Yeah.
Wonderful. And on that note, viewers, I hope you have learned a thing or two of what we can do about this, elevating our human rights awareness, and not only building but having a better playing field, not for just our generation but for our children's generations to come. You have been with me, Trony Ingati, on Law and Loyalties, together with Valentin Akayezu. We shall be back next week around the same time, and we shall be discussing democracy in Africa and in the global scene. And I'm quite curious to see how the youth can better play a better role in politics. Have a fantastic day and enjoy the sunny side of life. This is us seeing you off. Goodbye.